Hey, horror fans, once again, it's the Horror Miser Monty G. Yes, time to do another movie review. We're going to remove the current Netflix movie called The Silence. Wait a minute. Didn't we do this with A Quiet Place? We'll have to see something about this. Now, The Quiet Place, the 2019 Netflix horror movie, is directed by John Leonetti. It was written by Carrie and Shane Van Dyke based upon a 2015 novel of the same name by Tim Levin. It stars Stanley Tucci, Kaiman Sipgra, I think I pronounced her name right, Miranda Otto, and Kyle Harrison Burkoff. Now, yeah, this movie, you might as well say, is a carbon copy of A Quiet Place. It basically has the same type of premise. And unfortunately, you really can't do this type of review without comparing it to A Quiet Place. We'll see whether or not this is actually a good movie or not. And we'll see what I had to think about this. Now, the premise is when the world is under attack from flying creatures who hunt by sound, where we heard this before, Ellie Andrews, who lost her hearing at age 13, and her family must seek refuge at a remote haven, all the while trying to remain silent without making a sound. Yes, it's just like A Quiet Place. What the hell is going on here, guys? Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Did we see this similar premise last year in A Quiet Place? Now, when you break it down, this is just a carbon copy of that movie. Let's get our facts here. We have creatures that hunt by sound. Check. We have a family that has a deaf daughter. Check. This family had to survive without making a sound. Check. Yeah, it's all similar. Well, what is going on here? I thought Netflix didn't make sci-fi mockumentary movies. Now, to be serious, other than some minor differences, this is basically the same type of movie that we saw in 2018. Now, is this a better movie? Not by a long shot. Does it hold its own, or is it an effective horror movie? That's basically what we want to ask ourselves, because after we get past all the comparisons of A Quiet Place, is this movie good? Does it hold its own? Unfortunately, not by a long shot, and no, it's not a good horror picture. Now, don't get me wrong. The creatures do look frightening, and we do get some nice gore effects, something that we didn't get in A Quiet Place. But this film lacks the heart, the tensions, and the guts that The Quiet Place has. While we do get some good moments and some decent acting, the film simply doesn't have what it takes to keep people from believing that the filmmakers were simply just trying to cash in on the success of A Quiet Place and created this version. Come on, guys. I don't get it. Now, the film opens where we see some cave researchers break open an unexplored cave system and release these bat-like creatures who are called Vets. Nice, interesting name. And they start attacking and devouring anything in their path. I mean, come on, they've been trapped underneath this cave for millennia. I don't know how long they've been there. I'm assuming that they're very hungry, and I think they love the taste of human flesh. Now, eventually we're introduced to Ellie Andrews. He's a 16-year-old teenager who we learn is deaf due to an accident that killed her paternal grandparents. We see her overprotective parents, Hugh and Kelly. They're overprotective of her. They don't want to have her do anything independent because they're afraid she's going to get teased because she's deaf now. And her paternal grandmother, Lynn. We see Ali Skyping Rob, a potential possible boyfriend. They like each other. When reports coming in about these bat-like creatures attacking the East Coast, and everyone should remain indoors, and eventually they realize that these creatures hunt by sound, so you can't say shit. Here we go again. Now, not taking any chances, Hugh and his best friend Glenn decide to leave home and head to the countryside where they believe it's quieter there. You know, not all that noise. Unfortunately, an accident happens and the family has to stay quiet to prevent the approaching Vests from attacking them. And that's basically what this whole movie is about. Now, before I talk about how good or bad this film is, and I guess you probably know that to me this is not a good film, let's talk about some background I found about this film. First of all, it's based upon a novel of the same name by Tim Levin. He wrote this story. I never read the book, but this is the book he read. I think it came out in 2015. This film was in production at the same time that A Quiet Place was, and unfortunately, neither production company knew the existence of the other. Now, eventually, even though the movie did acquire a distributor, it was never released in theaters. It wasn't. And so eventually just sat there. All of a sudden, here comes A Quiet Place comes out. We see how successful that was and how great that movie was. It's like, hey, let's take advantage of this. Now, unfortunately, Netflix decided to release Bird Box first. And now we got Bird Box, and now we have this. Now, we don't know whether or not Netflix is trying to cash in on the success of A Quiet Place and or Bird Box on this matter. We don't know what their priorities were when they wanted to get this movie, when they got it. And while it may have a similar setup and premise of those two movies, it simply doesn't have enough to hold its own. And everyone say that this is just a carbon copy or, in my sake, a mockbuster of A Quiet Place. Now, I also found out that one of the writers of this film actually wrote, worked for the Asylum, I believe, and actually wrote those mockbuster movies that they aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. Now, it could be possible. I don't know if that was his intentions were, or when he found the book, or he probably didn't know that there was going to be another movie similar to The Silence. It came to Quiet Place. We really don't know, but it is an interesting fact that he actually did write for the Asylum, and the Asylum produced those mockbuster movies that aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. Now, they tried to do a good job of setting up this story. As we see the Andrews family, they're nice and friendly. I like how Allie wants to be independent and not have her parents worry about her when bad things happen, because earlier in the movie, we see these dumbass douche assholes tease her because she's deaf. And now keep in mind, she can actually talk. So, she doesn't know she can talk. So I don't know what those assholes were. These scenes are supposed to make us care about the family. So when the vets start attacking them, we're supposed to feel tension and feel sorry for the family when the vets start attacking them. And when they do, I didn't feel any danger for this family. Even when the family is put in any dangerous situation, I didn't think anything was going to happen to them. I mean, it's like, unlike a quiet place where we see in the beginning of the film, we all know what happens in the beginning of that film. You knew something terrible was going to happen to that family, and that's really where you create tension. Something terrible should have happened to this family. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't. So even when sound is made and the creatures are attacked, there's no tension or suspense there because we don't feel anything enough for the family, and we don't think that nothing's going to happen to them at all. Now, one of the big differences between this film and The Quiet Place is that the family in The Quiet Place, they can't make any type of sound or noise, and they have to walk a specific path. Where in this film, Andrews are kind of free to walk around in the woods and the city would not worry about the vets attacking. And then the film makes it easier because, as we see later on, the vets are there real high up in the air. They're on telephone wires, so as long as you don't make any type of noise, I'm assuming that their sense of sound is not as what can we say, this strong like the aliens in The Quiet Place. Because if you make any type of a sound, I mean, even if you stop, the aliens in The Quiet Place would hear it, but here you can stop and they wouldn't hear it anyway. Now, the acting in this film is standard, and most of the cast played their roles very well. Stanley Tucci and Miranda Otto, they're good as Hugh and Kelly. They're a nice, caring family. And you can see they're a little bit overprotective over Allie. They're a little bit overprotective for her, but they play their roles very well. I like that Stanley Tucci. He's very protective of his family when danger starts to happen. He's up in front. He knows his role. He's the protector of the family. Now, he may not be the big, strong guy like his friend Glenn is, but when things need to happen, he's willing to step up in front and do the job what is necessary. Now, let's talk about Kaiman Sipka. Now, I hope I got that name right. Now, we mostly know her from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And the main focus on this movie is her film, and it's also controversial as well because she's the main focus of the movie. Now, keep in mind, in A Quiet Place, a deaf actress was cast to play the deaf daughter in A Quiet Place, and the movie was praised for that, and she actually did a pretty good job in the movie. Now, here we all know that Kierman is a hearing actress. Now, I have nothing against casting a hearing actress to play a deaf character. It's been done before, and some of the people have done a pretty good job. And Cameron does what she can with the material given to her. If this movie had come out before A Quiet Place, perhaps she might have received some praise. Unfortunately, based on some of the research that I've done on this particular movie, some of the deaf actors, mainly I think her name is Martin, I think that's what her name is, criticized her for her use of using American Sign Language was off. And while she does emote very well, it's difficult for the audience to believe her what she's doing. Now, I don't know if they actually would have hired a deaf actress to play this role. Would have made it any difference? Maybe in some of the scenes it would have been a bit more believable. But unfortunately, the script really doesn't help Kyman's performance very well. I mean, she does what the material gives her what to do, but it's just there's nothing to grab onto. There's no sense of urgency like we had with the deaf actress that played the daughter in A Quiet Place. I can't remember her name right now. We felt sorry for her. We that movie had tension. Here, it's not, and I have nothing against Hyman. I'm pretty sure she's a pretty good actress. I like what she does in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but here, it's not that she does a good job performance-wise. It's just that the material doesn't allow her to do anything else but play this role what she's doing. Now, the one good thing I did love about the movie was the design of the thefts. Yeah, these little bat-like creatures. It shows, and I like how it shows how the creatures evolve while being trapped in darkness and a dark, lightless cave for centuries. Somewhat similar like the creatures that we saw in The Descent, because they have to evolve in their environment. You can see that they can't see anything, and they basically hunt by sound. And definitely when they attack, they are relentless when attacking, and they always attack in packs. They'll have a scout that goes up forward, and once the scout reports back to them, because they must communicate somehow, and once they know that there's some type of a food source, they attack, and they leave gory and bloody bodies after they finish. And we do get some nice gore scenes, some nice practical effects, but not enough to satisfy gore hounds. And quite frankly, I kind of expected more than what we got here. I expected to see a little bit more bloody scenes, some gore. We see little bits and pieces of it, but not enough to satisfy gore hounds, and not enough to satisfy me to make this movie somewhat good. And the third act. I don't even want to talk about the third act because it doesn't seem to fit. It's unnecessary, kind of drags the movie out more, and to me it's more of an excuse to provide tension and suspense for the Andrews. For people who've seen the movie know what I'm talking about. And it just fails terribly. It doesn't seem to fit. And then another thing I didn't like, then again, I don't know if they knew this or not, there's a scene in the third act that borrows directly from Quiet Place, as far as how to get away from not when you make sounds and the vest don't attack. That's a scene straight off from A Quiet Place. But then again, like I said, we don't know if they knew about this or not. But it's a wasted scene. It shouldn't even happen. It's sad because I actually truly wanted to enjoy this film. I wanted to like it. I wanted to hold on its own. I I want it to be something a little bit like Bird Box. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people like Bird Box because it was its own movie. Yes, it has similar qualities of A Quiet Place, but it had its own movie. Here, it's nothing really redeemable here. It's okay. It's some nice acting, kind of nice gore scenes, but only thing you can do is just compare it to A Quiet Place. It has nothing of its own value. It's nothing at all. I'm sorry. So, the Horror Miser is going to open up his vote. And I'm going to give The Silence out of my 5 gold coins. It's only going to get 1 out of my 5 gold coins. It's just a it's a poor film. It's too much coincidence with A Quiet Place. It doesn't hold its own. Well, what are you going to do? So, my horror fans, have you seen The Silence? What do you think about it? Do you think it's just too much like A Quiet Place? Do you think it's a pretty good film that actually holds its own? It separates itself from A Quiet Place. Leave your comments down in the comment section below and tell me what you thought about The Silence. So, horror fans, that's my video for today. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up because it does help the channel a lot. And once again, if this is your first time here, please hit that subscriber button, ring that notification bell. That way you can come and enjoy the horror experience with me, the Horror Miser Monty G. And as always, all my social media links will be down in the description box below as well. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember, horror rules. Vince, take us home. We're out.